Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening in the stars above today. If you can hear my printer in the background, I'm just finishing printing up the human design chart for the day. And no big changes since yesterday, but one that I really want to chat about this morning, and it's about the dragonfly, right? The dragonfly at the gate 55. We have the planet Venus, and she's setting us up for freedom in abundance, freedom in our relationships, and just the literal freedom to find the truth. The truth is out there. So good morning to everybody who is joining us. And it is a great day in the neighborhood. About 15 minutes ago, the moon transitioned out of the sign of Virgo and is now in the sign of Libra, prompting us to become more balanced, to find more harmony in our lives. And I woke up this morning to quite the mess with snow. About, I don't know, in some places out there's a foot of snow. On my deck itself, it's probably up to about 10 inches, and it's a little bit protected. My husband can't dig out the car yet because it's just too buried. No place to put the snow, so it's a crazy kind of morning out there in the neighborhood. But we don't get this very often, so we do get to sort of love the idea of snow anyway for the day. As well, I posted a picture this morning in the Living Astrology Facebook page of the moon over all of the snow. And, you know, sometimes when you look up at the moon and you just go, ah, but then you go to try to take a picture of it and the picture never really looks as good as the actual vision does. So anyway, I posted it up there for everybody to see nonetheless. We are safe and sound. Unlike some of our people in the area, we have power here, which has enabled me to be able to come on air this morning. We are ready to greet the day. And thank you to my friend Mimi, who in the background this morning is acting as moderator of some of those more difficult comments, let's say, that people have been throwing out there over the last couple of days as we've been bombarded by trolls. So trolls beware. We have our warriors of light out there this morning protecting this show's integrity and the purpose of the show, which is to enlighten and to help people get on their paths. Okay, so, and I also have, because my husband was home this morning, I got him to draw something for me. So if you're tuning in and you think there's a couch sale, no couch sale, right? No couch sale. No couches for sale here today at all. However, if you're here and you want to learn more about astrology, human design, or the gene keys, you are in the right place. And we welcome you with open arms. All right, so going back to astrology for the moment, today the moon is going to be in an interesting connection to the planet Mercury. So we want to speak about balance. We want to speak about harmony. We want to shout it from the rooftops about relationships, and we want to be able to tap into the beauty of the world around us. Libra is a sign ruled by the planet Venus, who takes center stage today in just about everything that you can think of, including our Pleiadian-Earth energy, including our transiting energy, and our human design energy, which I want to get into a little bit later here. The moon is also going to be in a sextile to Mars as we go into the day a little bit later. So there could be some emotional energy out there today as well. But I would bet that rather than the emotion of anger or upset, it will be more about excitement or love, or even just joy exuding out from our lives today. So let's take a look at Libra and what the Libra moon rules in our lives. First of all, we have partnerships. Of course, Libra is the sign of relationships and partnerships of both the marriage type, the significant other type, but also business partnerships. So what we see when the moon moves through Libra is this need for us to collaborate and to cooperate with one another, to create those win-win scenarios rather than the win-lose or the lose-lose, right? So we're all trying our best to harmonize those energies in our relationship, both giving and receiving, giving and taking, right? That give and take that balances our lives with other people. Libra also, of all of the signs, is more involved in the arts. So artistic expression, the aesthetics of art, beauty and beautification. It's why when I looked up at the sky this morning, I was so inspired, because the beauty of just the light and the moon and the snow just came together to make what I thought was like a beautifully aesthetic, pleasing picture. So we might be inspired today by design and by the beauty of the world around us. And it might be the beauty in a human face, it might be the beauty in a landscape, and it might be a beauty in the most simplest of things. But there is an edge of sophistication that comes around when the moon is in Libra, and it asks us to extend a more beautiful hand out there into the world as we try to keep things elegant, and we want to put in our own personal style to these things that are going on. So aesthetics and culture and design, all highly inspired within us today, as well as, of course, balance. We talked about that in the beginning of the show this morning. Balance and harmony brings up the need for us to weigh opposing views. So we all know, of course, last night there were the debates that the Democratic ticket puts out, or the Democrats are, that are vying for office are out there, and they're talking about their cases and weighing that against the opposing view here. And how do we balance that? Recognizing that there's good on both sides, and if they work together, God forbid, we might actually have success in the world. We might actually have some good things that happen in the world, in the US even, or in any of the countries that are out there trying to do good things. We need to balance the viewpoints out there. And of course, whenever you think of Libra, of course, you should be thinking about the scales of justice, right? So justice and the idea of equality, all part and parcel of the Libra experience. And of course, negotiations, harmonizing the different points of view in a way that's workable for everyone. Again, we go back to those win-win situations or scenarios. Now, we do have a couple of things to watch out for when the moon is in Libra, and one of them, the biggest one, is about losing yourself in relationship, where you are so busy taking care of everybody else's needs that you don't take care of yourself. Relationships work when they're in balance, right? If they get out of balance, you can do that for some time, but then it begins to undermine the relationship, right? As you feel like you're always the giver and you're not receiving. So we have to watch for balancing of the giving and the receiving end of things. You also want to watch out for being a yes person. Libra energy tends to say yes to everything. And not because, they're peacekeepers, they're the diplomats. And feeling like you have to say yes to everything works maybe some of the time, but over the course of the long haul, it can start to eat away at your very foundation. So watch what you're saying yes to. And also indecision, waffling, as Libra has one of those skills of being able to see sort of all sides. They can see why this A would be good. They can see why B would be good. And so it makes it hard for them to really choose either A or B, because they can see the good and the bad in both. So it can create indecision. Now, personally, what I would say for you, if you're facing the need today to make a big decision or any kind of decision, then likely it's a good time for you to remember your human design strategy based on your type, and then also the authority in your chart. So most of you have requested charts from me, and you've received your free report and you've received your free chart. At the bottom third of the page, it tells you what your type is, what your strategy is, and the very last listing is your inner authority. It is those pieces of information that are going to help you make the best decisions possible for you, right? Not for me, but for you. So there you have that. I'm going to take a quick look over here at people who are checking in this morning. Good morning, Natasha and Allison and Marissa and Colleen and Karen Devine, Jennifer Peachy, great to see you. Elisa and great. So thank you, Mimi, Elisa, says, good morning. Jacqueline Lopez, Grand Solar Rising. I love that, the way she says that. Natasha, it's so good to see you out there. We've missed you. Asa, good morning. Linda Marie, good morning. Colleen says, good morning. And yay, Mimi. Exactly my thought too. Good morning, Shauna Stewart. Great to see you out there. Linda Dennis, good morning, sweetie. And Jacqueline says, I'm a Libra moon. Hey, you're about to have a moon return. I'm not sure what degree that is for you, but sometime in the next day or 2 days, 3 days, you will have a lunar return, which gives you sort of, maybe you're in the dark of the moon, maybe in your chart at the moment, which might mean you're feeling a little more tired, and the new moon will come along, or your personal new moon will come along and change that for you. Terry, good morning. He says, I love Libras. So do I. I have several of them in my life. And Camille, good morning. And Amy Moore, good morning. And Jacqueline says, sounds like me with my kids. Yay. Good morning, everybody out there, as I'm just scrolling through. Jacqueline says at 1 degree. So Jacqueline, then that means you are already in your lunar return, or your lunar new moon, if you will, and experiencing the path of new opportunities and new things coming up for you. So it's always a good time. Natasha says, missed you oh so much. Yes. Anyway, and Natasha, congratulations. I saw that you were going to go live last night. I was waiting for the countdown, and then something else happened and I missed it. So I hope your live broadcast was done really well for you last night. Okay, now the major focus today, like I said, is going to be on Venus. Venus is the ruling planet for Libra, but also today, Venus in Pisces is in a sextile to Uranus and Taurus. Now, why I find this so fascinating is because Venus, as the ruler of Libra, also rules the sign of Taurus. So it sort of links up the energies of these two planets in ways that are very empowering, in helping us with our finances, helping us in our relationships, and in the expression of our true and authentic values. Remember, we've done a lot of talk over the last couple of months about our values, our common core values as human beings on the planet, but also as our individual values are being brought up to the surface so that we live in harmony in the expression of our authentic values, and not on the conditioning field of the outer world that would have us believe that we have to have a lot of toys, we have to have a lot of money, we have to do a job and stay there for 30 some years, that kind of thing, where we can live by what's really important to us. So today then, Venus and Uranus bring us a bit of excitement. Isn't that kind of fun, right? To have excitement and breaking away from the normal, the routine. Remember, the last couple of days we had the moon in Virgo, so we were into the routine, but today we're breaking out of the routine. And what will actually benefit us is when we're out seeking something that is more stimulating to our creative energy. And that might be inspiring, becoming inspired by something as simple as the moon in the sky, or earlier on the horizon out there were these beautiful orange coral colors that, those might be inspiring you to action this morning. So whatever it is, get out and seek what brings you excitement and what brings you or stimulates your creative energies. Avoiding the boring. That will be the key today. Avoiding what's boring to you. You might even attract new friends today with new and different ideas. There's a bit of an electrical frizz in the air, if you will, right? An electricity in the air. And as you're out looking for the new and the unique, you might discover something that is very exciting to you, that really triggers your fancy, if it were, something like a piece of art, or the idea of doing something different, going to a new place, or behaving in a new way. So looking for the new today and the unique. And we're also, in some ways, bucking up against boundaries and limits as we are in resonance with the energy of freedom. And that's coming from the gene keys, more specifically in your human design, where Venus, the planet that's bringing this up for us, is sitting at the gate 55. And the gate 55 is on the emotional center. Let me show that to you in a human design chart. Actually, I'm going to circle it here even so that it makes it easy for you to see. The gate 55 is there on the emotional center, and it is the gate that we call the gate of abundance. And it is also a gate that brings up the idea of freedom. So where did I write that this morning? When I was writing up the gene keys part of this, it is the only gate in human design that actually has the same word for both the gift and the siddhi. And so I made one little little regular word freedom, and the other one is all caps freedom. And the lowest expression of this energy, of course, is victimization. And, just when you think that victimization is gone from the field, here it comes roaring back, and the possibility that we can succumb to that victimy field of energy. So we want to be aware of that this morning. We want to be aware of that for the next several days, actually, as Venus is here for the next 5 days, and she will be triggering ideas around abundance and this idea of freedom. Now, remember, in these gates, when we look at it from human design, or maybe more specifically, when we look at it through the gene keys, remember the gene keys are taking us through a holographic picture of these energies. And what I mean by holographic is that it is a frequency that is sort of dimensional, where we don't just see it superficially on one level. There are several levels that we look at these energies through, one of which could be the shadow energy, the fear field on the planet. And often then when we're in the fear field, it triggers us to do things based on survival energies instead of the bigger energies that would be around the heart, right? Heart-centeredness. A heart-centered reason for doing something feels completely different than a survival reason for doing something, right? Just feel that in your own body when you're reacting to something out of the field of fear, as opposed to reacting from a space of love or potential, or looking at things in a bigger way, in a free way. Freeway, not freeway. So there are two expressions of the energy that we could be working with in that shadow. And the shadow then is victimization here. And the repressed way of viewing this shadow then is through lack consciousness, or through the real literal field of victimhood, where no matter what's happening to you, you're feeling like a victim. Right? It's that feeling of no matter what you do, it always goes to, hell in a handbasket. That's kind of victim-y energy. And when you catch and we all still do this, right? We're not done completely with that fear field. Otherwise, we'd be up in the shadow of freedom, and we wouldn't, in the gift of freedom, when we wouldn't even have to talk about victimization energy. But I'll tell you, some of the things that have happened this week here on this show started me to feel a little bit like a victim. And I had to pull myself back and go, whoa, 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 who's got the power here? Right? And in the end, you discover that you're the one that has the power to pull yourself up and out of the field of this victimization energy. And that is literally what Venus is inviting us to do for the next few days as we're sitting here. Explore any areas in your life where victim energy has put a stop or a hold on you. And it could be that you feel victimized in your relationships. That would be not surprising, considering the moon is in Libra ruled by Venus. Maybe you feel like a victim in your finances, or in the way that people, in your self-worth, your worthiness, your confidence, your self-esteem. So all of these things may be putting pressure on you, and you may feel like a victim, but the need here is for you to pull yourself out of that. Now, there's also the opposite end of the shadow, the more rebellious or angry end of the spectrum. And here is where we get into complaining and instigating trouble just because you don't feel like you're receiving, so you're going to take the toys away from everybody else, or you're going to steal the good feeling energy out of the room because you feel so horrible. And I know none of you out there are doing that, right? You're not complainers, and you're not getting into that blame game, but the possibility exists that that energy could pop up in your field somewhere today. So it really reminds us, when we have days like today and several days in the future here, to remember, what are we doing, right? And are we in reaction to something that's happening in our lives, Or are we in response, right? Response means that we actually have had a moment, a breath, to be able to decide how or what we're going to say or do. Where reaction is purely emotional and it's knee-jerk. It's in the moment. And it doesn't give us that opportunity to choose the best path or the best way to go or the best thing to say or the best, direction to move in. So we have to literally take a moment before we express the energy of lack or victimness or complaining, and breathe and see what is it that's the trigger within us, and then choose the path that we want to go down. So as we move through the next few days, where this will play out is in our relationships, our values, and our finances. So if we're looking for the capital F and all caps freedom, then what we have to do is let go of all of these lower energies. Now, I also want to remind everyone that the energy of abundance in your human design, abundance, right? In all ways, whether it's money, whether it's things, whether it's opportunities, whether it's relationships, your health, etc. The energy of abundance does not sit on the sacral or on the root center. So it is not tied into what you do, right? So all of these things are not tied into what you do. Abundance is literally tied into what you feel, right? Your emotional intelligence, right? How you are feeling. And we know that feeling energy is like waves on the ocean, up and down, right? So we are always being asked with emotional energy to wait for clarity over time before we knee-jerk and react to something. And that's because right here in the moment, you might be feeling really angry and upset, and the words that may follow or the things that you do after that upset may be the exact wrong things for you to do. So instead, you breathe, you wait for that mood to pass, and you get clarity by being able to look at yourself over the course of time. And when it comes to the flow of abundance, we know that that also flows. Why? Because it's on the emotional center. So emotion has a flow, abundance has a flow to it. And that means that sometimes it's on the high, and sometimes it's waning, and sometimes it's in that low, and sometimes it's on the way back up. So if we can remember that, then our freedom lies in not reacting to what is happening in any given moment. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't be joyful or excited about the good things that are happening. And it doesn't mean that you might not feel disappointment or upset over something that hasn't been happening, or that where things aren't turning out the way you thought. It just means that you don't have to be in reaction to those energies. You don't have to take steps to change your life up or let go of something out of that kind of feeling that happens in the moment. I hope that makes sense to people. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Camille, good morning. She says, my Venus is in Taurus, and Venus, or let's see, Taurus and Libra, both energies today in our charts that are going to be a little bit heightened. So wherever you have those two signs, that's where you want to look today by house to see what area of your life that may be happening. So for example, if you look at a chart like this is not a chart of a person, but of the moment. So this morning I drew up this chart. I don't even know what time it was. It says it was 6:45 in the morning when I drew this chart this morning. So if this were a birth chart, this would be what the planets look like for this person who would have been born at that point in time where I live. And you can see the houses look like these pie-shaped pieces, right? And what we first see here is these are the zodiac signs. Here's the sign of Aries. Here's the sign of Taurus. So this chart has Taurus on the second house. The second house and Taurus have a real affinity for one another because Taurus rules the second house. And that must mean Libra is over here somewhere in the seventh. And here indeed we have the seventh house. Although the seventh house begins here in Virgo, most of Libra is sitting in the seventh house. So the focus is on relationships. But let's say in your own chart, you have Libra up here at the 10th house. Then you may be in a process of balancing and harmonizing relationships in the workplace, or in maybe you're establishing contacts out in the world at large that will help propel you forward in your career or in your profession. It might be that you are gaining recognition for the work that you've been doing out there in the world. If these energies today are placed in your fourth house, maybe you're dealing with home, maybe you're beautifying your home. It might be a great day to redecorate, take down all the Christmas stuff and put up, I don't know what you would put up in the meantime, lights, pretty lights, right? This is the season of light. And those are the things that you can focus on. Find the houses that those two signs are at, and that's where the focus is for you personally today. Jacqueline says, I'm a Taurus sun. As long as it helps me, I'm all for it. Lovely. Denise K. Briggs, good morning. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, good morning. Monique Alexander says hello. Natasha, oh, sorry, I totally went past couch auction. Oh, here we go. We missed some of our couch auction pictures. Here is my thing. No couch auction. There is no couch auction going here. You've been duped. You've been duped into coming to an astrology morning, a daily astrology broadcast for Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. No couches for sale here. No couches being auctioned. You are in the wrong place. You're welcome to stay, however, if you are interested in astrology or metaphysics or the gene keys or human design or even just self-help, right? If you would like to benefit from that, you're welcome to stay. But if you think there's a couch for sale here today, ain't happening. So you're in the wrong place. So you can take your Uncle Paul and you can take your sofa, your love seat, and you can move on. And I know Mimi's out there trying to do her best to get these comments before they show up. And it's okay, Mimi, if they're getting through, because I know there's probably a lot. Marissa says, I checked in earlier, but I missed the first 10 minutes. My energy just cut off yesterday. Today I'm feeling very tired. And Marissa, I would look to see where your natal moon is. And I can't remember off the top of my head where that is, because maybe you're in a part of the cycle where your energy is waning. And that happens. It's a natural part of the lunar cycle every month, right? As we go through all of the different signs with the moon, our own personal energies are waxing and waning according to where the moon is in our own charts. For example, mine and Mimi's are both in Virgo. So these last few days, we've seen our new moon, if you will. And so our energy is perked up. But if, just before that, over the weekend, energy was a little bit lower for me because the moon was in Leo. So that means that I was in the lower part of that cycle, or the waning part of that cycle. So we all go through that on a regular basis throughout the month. So let's see what else is going on. Jacqueline says, pretty accurate. I've been a little more stern with the kids and their chores. Today, lighten it up, right? Do something exciting with the kids. And Kathy Miller, good morning. Sure, I'm glad she's not stuck in boredom. Kathy, I don't think your life is ever boring, is it? And no, you didn't. Let me just say one more time, there is no couch auction going on here. Get lost. Go somewhere else. Or stay if you want to hear about astrology. And natal moon in Cancer. So yeah, let's see. You might have been, so late last week, Marissa, you would have been in the lower wave. And toward the weekend, actually, you might have picked up in energy. So maybe there's something else working. We also have to remember Saturn and Pluto are those heavy hitters, and the sun has been on top of them. All of the inner planets, Venus and Mercury, have been also in that field. Ceres is still sitting there. So we've had that, kind of conglomeration of planets sitting on top of Saturn and Pluto, and those two tend to make things, feel a little bit more heavy, make us feel a little more tired. They are, creating a sort of need for us to integrate new energies, and so in the process, then sometimes we are taken down for a while energetically so that we can accommodate the new energies and become more expanded in the way that we're expressing that in our lives. So let's see what else is going on here. Jacqueline Lopez says, does the phase we are born in also matter? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's harder for me to tap into that for you because I don't have your chart in front of me, but it absolutely does. So if you're born in with the moon in the new phase, then your entire beingness, your character, your inner being, your soul is resonating with the newer kinds of energies, with new experiences, with new beginnings, as opposed to someone who's maybe born at the other end of the spectrum with the moon in its waning phase before it goes new, right? Where they're in completion mode and they're probably experiencing the ending of things in this lifetime and preparing for a new beginning of sorts. So it does make a difference. Janet, what is Libra in the 11th house? Friends, family, relationships, being a part of a group. Your soul longs to belong to something, to be included, to be inclusive, and to feel like you're a part of something bigger. And then on another path, there's also wanting to engage your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations, and to be able to move forward in your life in some ways. So that would be your moon in the 11th. I hope that helps. Yes, Marissa, great idea. Practice extra self-care as in Aries moon. Yeah, Aries moon. I can't remember what that was about, Camille. An Aries moon, though, of course, very Mars-like. It's funny how many women in my life I've attracted that have the moon in Aries. It's a very masculine energy. It's very much the feminine warrior. It reminds me of Pallas Athena energy, right? Where she's got her sword and she's got her shield. She's wearing her helmet and her owl for wisdom and knowing when to strike and when not to. So that's what the moon in Aries always reminds me of. And Jacqueline, a waning phase, right? So at times your energy, likely you go through periods of time where you are in that lower field of energy, where you really need more rest, more time to recoup your energy, so to speak. So that's probably a natural phase that you go through. I also want to remind you guys, remember, through the Pleiadian energy, and I haven't really begun to really talk much about this to all of you, but Venus also moves through different phases in your chart. And all of us were born with Venus in one of her phases. Remember, we've just come through the shadow energy where she was in remembering and embodying energy. And so there are some of you that were born when she was an evening star. So you might be more introverted. And right now she's also the evening star. So you may have become more introverted or more self-searching or self-seeking, looking for more answers from within. Those of you who were born with her as a morning star, you're more extroverted. By nature, you're more outgoing. Then she also has other phases where she was in the inferior conjunction, when she was in the superior conjunction, when she was unseen either before she rises as the morning star or before as she was setting as the evening star. We've just come out of the phase where she was below the horizon and we couldn't see her in the evening. She was in the glare of the sun. And now she's rising above that. So now we can see her more in the evening. I saw her the other night. I thought it was an airplane. She was so bright. And I'm like, oh, but why would an airplane be there? Because there's no airport there. And I realized suddenly that it was Venus, right? That she's finally moved out of the glare of the sun. And just after sunset, if you look west, you can see her bright and beautiful right there. It's really very interesting to watch the cycles of Venus. So every one of you also have Venus in some form of her cycle in your chart. And that can also be playing a role, particularly on a day like today where Venus, or for the next few days, where Venus is prominent, right? She's playing a bigger role in all of the planets this week than maybe in other weeks. So there's often a bigger story, a bigger picture that's going on than what I can give you in the morning show here, right? We're looking at the daily energy. It's a little bit more, I don't want to say vague, it's a little more general, right? But each of you has a complete different story going on in your astrology, in your human design, and in your gene keys. And in your own, if we did a Pleiadian chart for you, we'd also see that you were born on a day where sometimes the energy is completely at that an introverted end and other times at the extroverted end. So speaking of the Pleiadian energy, let's look at what's going on today. Today is 11 being. And being is the first of the 20-day signs. And 11, of course, we're getting close to the end of the universal energies, as 13 is the final energy in the week. So 11 is the number of illumination. We're stripping away illusions by applying the light. And as we strip away illusions, it reveals the truth, right? That's what we're after. You know, that's why we do what we do. We're all looking for the capital T truths, right? In physics, it might be the unifying theory, right? That they're looking for, that unifies all of the energies on the planet. The unified field theory. And I don't know that they ever get to it, but we're all looking for these capital T truths. On a day like today, we may be tapping into that more easily than other days. And it may be that we're tapping into our own personal truth as opposed to the truth, the bigger T truths, and that's okay too. It does encourage us to open up our minds and our hearts, right? To be open to seeing a bigger picture, to be more aware of the spiritual dimension of life, the spiritual nature of all things and of all beings. And it's also about the energy of love and light and truth, right? So those are some of our prime directives, if you will. I feel like, you know, it was last week, I believe. Hold on, I'm going to check something really quick because I believe it was last week when we were talking about being warriors of light. And of course, I can't find it right now at this moment, but I do believe it was last week's energy where we were taking on that task of bringing out the light, of bringing in more and more and more light to brighten up the darkness, right? To expose the truth, to expose love as the unifying force of the universe. And I think that today is a day where we get an opportunity to bring that more and more into focus. Now, the energy of being is the earth energy of the day. It was Emish in the Mayan calendar, which was the great alligator that birthed the universe. So we have highly creative and birthing energies here with this light. So what are we birthing? Well, we're birthing the high frequency energies of love and light. Woohoo! But we may find ourselves in a struggle as we do that. As we move through the day, we may find ourselves finding that we also require still some form of security, that we're holding on to something, and that it might be a false sense of security. And what do we need to let go of in order to power forward? It may be a day where we see people in their primal reactionary selves versus harmonious responding. So you see the parallel going on here in our Pleiadian-Earth energy, along with the energy of the moon in Libra and our Venus sextile Uranus. We've got to watch reacting and instead create harmonious response. And this is also initiating energy. So we might feel compelled to start something new or to walk down a new path today. We are birthing the light in a very metaphoric way. Right? Metaphor for birthing light, which means what? Well, becoming the light, and stop hiding yourself, right? Stop. It's time to maybe reveal yourself and to reveal your truth and to live from that place without fear. We're responding to life, to everything in our lives with love and nurturing. We're nurturing the light. We're growing the light. So it's a pretty picture that I get to paint today with the Pleiadian energies, and I kind of like that. Let's see, any other questions going on? Uranus, yes, I've seen Uranus. I have through a telescope. Jacqueline says, yes, I'm so happy I came across her page. Some of you people are just too funny. And Kevin Coleman says, I love astrology. Last night I was looking at the rings of Saturn in my telescope. Yes, I'm wearing my Saturn earrings this morning because I felt like I needed to stay grounded. And every time I think of Saturn, I think about that grounded energy and that energy of the duty and responsibility that we each have as we come into the planet to live in our integrity. So right now it's also about integrity. What does integrity mean? It is not a moralistic indication that comes from outside of you, directing you to what to do or what to say or who to be. It comes from within you, because the root word for integrity comes from integument, which is your skin. And interesting, Saturn rules the skin. And staying true to yourself is about being in your own skin, right? Living your truth, whatever that might be. Forgetting that other people are putting pressure on you to be something that you may not be. And let that go and live your own truth and be in integrity. Camille, yes, we are. Some are not. They are misguided and wasting creative energy. Lots of power lost, right? I think we really do get to look at where we are bleeding out our power, where we are hemorrhaging power. And I think we do this a lot, actually. Every time that we give up something of what we want to do or what our desires are, every time we give that away, we're reducing the amount of power that we have. So we are in an opportunistic time, right, where we get to pull our power back to us, where we get to stand in the grand light of our personal power, and we get to use that power to help the world, right, to guide the world, or in whatever way that you're here to do your life. You're here to help others, to bring more love, to bring more light in whatever way that might be, right? It doesn't mean that you have to only do the kind of work that I do, or that you have to be a spiritual teacher. Not at all, right? We are all here together to help one another in whatever way that is. And Camille says, nurturing the light and smothering the dark. There is that. There is this idea of smothering the dark, but I would say let's balance the light and the dark, because it takes both. We wouldn't have one without the other. And balancing that, right? And I think the dark has held sway on the planet long enough. It's time for us to really bring in our light to balance that out. And again, let me just remind those of you who are here for a couch sale. There is no couch sale. No couch auction going on here today. You are in the wrong place. But hopefully you're getting enlightened while you're here. You're learning something new about yourself or about the universe at large. Maybe learning for the first time that there's an energy called love. And in love, we bond with one another. We support one another. We extend a helping hand to one another. We love one another. And we do good things for one another. Right? That's what it is that we do here in our community of Living Astrology. We empower one another. We support one another. We love one another. We don't sell couches. Okay, go somewhere else if you want to buy a couch. Camille says it's personal ethics. Some have none. Right. Interesting, Camille, that you bring that up, because at the end of the Mayan calendar, one of the big energies that was flooding into the planet was the energy of ethics. Ethics and integrity, two things that we were in lack of. And what I think we're seeing right now is the exposure of unethical behaviors, unethical actions that have been taken on our behalf as people. And as we get that exposed more and more, the light gets to come in and to arrange those energies to be more ethical, to be more conscious, to be more aware, to be more based in love, to be more light-filled. So that's an interesting observation you're making. And Marissa says, do you think today is a good day to have a brief phone meeting with someone to set up in an in-person meeting? It's a meeting to feel. I'd say today's a really good day to establish working relationships with people, and maybe it would be a brief phone meeting today with someone might establish a good working relationship. I'm not sure what the situation is here for you, Marissa, but yeah, why not? Today is a day for breaking from the routine, breaking out of the usual way that you would handle something. So maybe it is something that you could do today. Camille says, yes, smothering those looking for home furnishings. That's funny. Debbie says, you're killing me with the couch stuff. I know. It was funny. My husband this morning was home, and I said, just draw me a picture of a couch, because he can draw, I can't. That's just not a gift I came to the planet with. My work drawings would be more stick figures, so no couch sale here today, no couch auction. Go somewhere else. But, you know, I want to speak to something. I've spent 2 days now in this energy, and as, you know, a few of you, I just have to tell you how endearing it is to hear the messages coming from those of you who follow my work and who are in communication with me in support of what I do, and in how this whole thing is affecting how we're dealing with all of this energy. So for one thing, my heart just has broken open wide over the last couple of days from the messages that people have been sending me. But I also, yesterday and the day before, have had to go through the deep dive into Facebook to figure out where is the exposure here, why is this happening from a more mechanical point of view as opposed to the spiritual point of view, and finding no real help from Facebook. And it's really disgusting me at sometimes how wide open Facebook has left all of us, how vulnerable we really are in using this particular social media. And in that respect, then I think Facebook needs to do some work and give us some better tools. When you go to report something like this that has been happening, all you can do is get these canned responses. And it really leaves you no way to connect with anybody to really explain the situation and even get input on how to fix the situation. So yesterday, with the help of Mimi and a friend named Michelle Gay, who you see here in the morning, we were going through and looking at the profiles of each of these people. And unfortunately, it's not necessarily these people that are doing this. I feel like that about 50% of them have had their profiles hacked, or have had these people who are parading as them take over their pages. Perhaps they've, you know, a couple of situations to me look like the person either was in a major accident and didn't, you know, or left the social media world for a while. And, you know, things they haven't posted on their pages for 2 years, yet these people are suddenly here with those names on this page. So it tells me that these people are up to no good. Their pure motives are suspect. And it isn't necessarily the people whose names we're seeing. So there was some breaking open of my heart is compassion for perhaps some of these people who have had something happen to them where they've fallen off social media and their pages have been overtaken by these other entities or these other people masquerading as them, and they're not. And so know that we are tracking you down. And we will continue to do whatever we need to do to protect the integrity of our group and our community. And I urge each one of you who absolutely love coming here to do your best to, you know, promote love and light and understanding and even compassion towards some of these people who have nothing better to do than disrupt the work of others, or attempt to, because truly you guys aren't really disrupting this at all. And yeah, so that's it for that. Frank Pellegrino, love it. You are such a good sport. Frank, you know what? You are one of those people who I'm sure came here for the reason of finding a couch, but you've turned out to be a light in the dark of some of this experience. And so you are most welcome to be here. And the tools are there to make Facebook Live private. Ooh, I don't know what those are, Frank. Perhaps you might share that with me, because that's something I haven't been able to find. I even went so far yesterday as trying to track down a social media manager that could come in and help me plug those holes in the system, because I'm not sure what they are. It's just not my forte, but some of you out there probably have that as a forte. I would love to hear from you. Debbie, I've been having all sorts of issues with Facebook and PayPal. I'd love to get rid of them both. Yep, unfortunately, isn't it just like a love-hate relationship we have going on here with this? And so today with Libra energy, let's bring it all into balance and harmony, right? Let's just bring it into the middle. And do what we can to deal with the negative things that happen, and love the things that happen in the positive way for what we do here. I should be a detective. You know, that's so funny, Denny Walker, whoever you might be, if it's really you. One of the things I would have been was a detective. My favorite types of books and shows to watch are detective shows, because I feel sometimes that I do some very deep investigative work. I do it on behalf of my listeners. I do it on behalf of myself. And I also will do it when I am on the hunt to find an answer to something, a solution to something. And really, Spirit is my helper in this, as in often I just end up guided to the right person, or the right person finds me. And so I'll just leave that up to Spirit, because I know this is not my forte. Astrology and human design and helping people find their life path and to live in love and light, that's my purpose. All right, Jacqueline says, yes, you can have it private, just then you cannot have your live out there to look for new people. That's interesting. I got to think about that one, Jacqueline. So I'll figure this out. Trust me. With the help of you guys, you who are my true, authentic listeners, I know that suggestions come in. I know that you are watching my back, and I know that what we're doing must be right, because you only come into under attack, when you're doing something really good or something really profound. Then the dark wants to take over. And perhaps it's been a state where I've just decided no more dark, right? And now the dark is doing its last gasp to try to keep me down. I don't know. All I know is I'm out here to do a job, and I'm doing it. All right, let's see. Is there anything else that I wanted to say before I close out this morning? I think that is it for now. Tomorrow, I thought today was the day Mercury was moving into Aquarius. It's actually mañana. So tomorrow we'll talk about Mercury in Aquarius, and how Mercury then comes into the realm of Uranus, and how we might be inspired to speak new ways, to say new things, to entertain new ideas and inspiration. So I'm really excited for Mercury in Aquarius. I hope you guys will find that it's exciting for you as well. And in the meantime, everybody take care. Have a wonderful day. I will see you all tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Take care. Bye for now.